Everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Today we're going to be talking about Bitcoin, and we're just going to be looking at the price movements. So if you guys like the content, please subscribe to the channel and check out the Telegram channel, which you can find in the description below. So we've been following this for a while, noting that these moving averages are some of the main ones that we want to keep an eye on. The 200 week being our historical level of support. You can see some candles have slightly come below it, as well as some wicks. We had a wick down to the 300 week moving average. I think it's always good if you're a long-term Bitcoin holder and you're always looking to increase your position. This is not financial advice, but I usually have buy orders at like the 200 week moving average, the 300 week, and so on and so forth. I mean, they're a lot of times they're not actually ever going to get filled, but every once in a while they do get filled, and it's nice when you see that. And even if you had a 200 week purchase here in March, you would have seen the price go lower, so you may have been upset. But I mean, we have rebounded quite quickly. And again, if you go back in time and look at the 200 week moving average, you can see that we actually have had some wicks below it. We've even had part of candles below the 200 week moving average. But we've often said, what's a few bucks among friends? What's a few hundred? Obviously depends on the price, but a few percentage points isn't really that significant to me. So anyways, we are currently above the 200 week. If we were to go back down below the 200 week, I would be personally looking at the 300 week as our next level of support, because that's where we immediately bounced off of last time. But in the meantime, we have seen a bounce upwards, which has actually been going against traditional markets. Traditional markets continue to fall, and I think the Dow is down like 35% or so from its all-time high. So traditional markets are still falling, yet Bitcoin has shown resilience, and it has shown strength recently, bouncing all the way down from around $3,800 or so, depending on what exchange you're on, to the current prices around $6,500. So that is a really good sign of strength. And we've said before, Bitcoin was born out of the 2008 recession. And the idea behind Bitcoin was, why do I want to hold cash if the government can continue just printing all the cash they want, and thus leading to inflation and further devaluing my hedge against, an economy that's crashing. So the idea is, okay, well, we created Bitcoin. We have Bitcoin now, and there's a fixed supply, and if more and more people are buying Bitcoin with a fixed supply, then so if the demand goes up for a fixed supply, then the price is going to go up as well. So the idea here is that maybe there are some people that are starting to come to Bitcoin that are getting tired of the traditional system. But what kind of price points could we look for? What are some big price points, in my view, to be looking out for over the next several weeks? Well, we already said if we drop below the 200 week, keep your eye on the 300 week. If we continue moving up, then one of the things that I think is going to be important to keep an eye out for will be the 100 week moving average, because previously, if you just follow what we did, here we came to the 200 week, came to the 20 week, immediately shot up, came down to the 20 week, broke it, so we failed to hold it as support once, and we came down to the 100 week moving average. And we were at the 100 week moving average for several weeks. And then after being at the 100 week, we popped right back up to the 20 week and held it as resistance. And we've often said that the 20 week is the sign of a bull market. You can see it, the 20 week moving average, this yellow line is where the price of Bitcoin has historically held support in a bull market. So we were saying, well, we need to stay above the 20 week for the bull market to be confirmed. Until that happens, we are just in an accumulation phase, which again goes along with the idea that we've been talking about on this channel for a long time, that we're seeing lengthening cycles and also decreased macro level volatility. So we would expect diminishing returns while we're experiencing lengthening cycles. We've said 2019 and 2020 potentially even early 2021 are likely going to be the best times to accumulate Bitcoin. And so your primary focus right now should not be what is the price of Bitcoin in terms of, oh, I'm trying to day trade. It should be, if you're a macro level person, it should just be how much Bitcoin can I obtain for as little as possible. So any of these moves right here that you see, they are huge opportunities, and don't discount the fact that if you had bought at $3,800, you would already be up significantly from that point. So you can see the magnitude of Bitcoin swings. When the price is falling like that and it's shooting down, that is an opportunity. That is not the time to be fearful. I'm sure some of you watching this probably sold during that time. But when stuff like that happens, you have to think of it as an opportunity, and not as not just look at it through your emotions. And that's why I also have videos about Bitcoin and the risk metric that I made, and we just follow that. So if you want to look at that, you can check out several other videos that talk about it fairly frequently. If you want more frequent updates, I do have a Patreon channel you can find in the description below. But with that said, we're going to be looking at the 100 week, because you can see it was support here, and then the 20 week held resistance, and then it was more or less support again. The next time we got to the 20 week, we came above it. People got optimistic. When we get above the 20 week, Bitcoin's dominance tends to decrease. So historically, that is a good time to potentially look at altcoins. If you want to go into that world, certainly when Bitcoin is above the 20 week, altcoins tend to perform much better than when we're below the 20 week. Just some advice. But once we drop below the 20 week, that's when Bitcoin dominance goes up, even though the price goes down. That is historically what happens, more or less. So we're going back up. Look for the 100 week as a potential area that we need to get through, because this is our first barrier, really. And right now it's at around $7,100. By the time we get up to it, it could be around $7,000. But right now it looks like it's closer to $7,100. So that, I think, would be a key area that you're going to want to look out for. And then the next big area is going to be the 20 week moving average, which has come down to 7,900. So the first time we tested the 20 week was at around 10,000 back in September. The second time we tested it, and this is testing it as support, the second time was in February of 2020 at around $8,500. And when we were up in this region, we said, okay, well, one scenario is we fall below the 20 week and we kick the can down the road and retest it at a lower level. And clearly that's likely going to happen as we continue to see the 20 week move down, and it will continue to move down as long as the prices are much lower, because we're comparing ourselves to all this over here as well. So high prices, and now we have low prices. So as long as the prices stay low, then we're gonna see the 20 week continue to come down. So potentially, maybe we'll test it. We've said before, maybe it'll be in the 6,000s, maybe it'll be in the 7,000s. But at some point, we will test the 20 week again, and we will hope that we can hold it as support to try to get more confirmation that the bull run is coming. And if we do get above the 20 week, take this now with you. Think about like some of the other coins that you may or may not be invested in. If you're invested in Ethereum, for instance, Ethereum tends to do well when Bitcoin gets above the 20 week. There are other coins as well that don't tend to do as well until Bitcoin gets to its previous all-time high, and we've covered this in a lot of videos in the past. So that's just some information. So look out for the 100 week moving average. Look out for the 20 week moving average. These are going to be regions that we're going to want to get above. But at the same time, guys, we have time. We're just trying to accumulate Bitcoin here, because as far as we're concerned, the next peak isn't for another 2 or 3 years, potentially not until, say, the middle of 2023. So with that in mind, who cares what goes on in here? In fact, let's just keep accumulating Bitcoin for as little as we can, and at some point in the future, we will get above it. And you can imagine that if if we get through this, impending recession from the pandemic, and Bitcoin is still around, which we know it will be, then it's going to bring just more strength to the argument behind Bitcoin. Look, it was born out of a recession, it weathered the storm of a recession, and now the economy is getting back on track. For the next several years, and then I think Bitcoin is just going to be primed to shine. So I don't think this is really throwing any turmoil into what we're hoping and what we're thinking. And again, remember to sometimes you just need to remove the noise. Don't look at the price. Look at a longer term moving average. Here's the 50-week moving average. It's not quite monotonically increasing, but you can see that it increases and then it decreases, but it starts increasing again going into the halving. Okay, and then it increases for the bull run, decreases during the bear market, increases into the halving, bull run, decreases, increases into the halving, and so on and so forth. Now, I don't really believe in the 4-year cycle theory, and because of that, I think, someone pointed this out in the last video. They said, well, if you don't believe in the 4-year cycle theory, how do you explain this? Well, if you look at this, you can see that, the peak is getting shifted further and further away. So if we were to just take a date range from, say, the halving to the peak, or approximately thereabouts, this is about, let's say, 96 weeks or so. And then let's look at this one. And you can see for this one, it was, let's see, I think the peak is like right here. Something like that. So 117 weeks. So I think the peak is going to get continually shifted out. I think eventually, and this is where I draw a lot of criticism, but talk about it in the comments. I think time is the only thing that'll settle the argument. But I think eventually we will see cycles. Maybe it'll be this current cycle. I don't think it will be, but I think eventually we're going to see market cycles that are going to span 2 halvings. So I think that's likely. For instance, if you imagine a peak in 2023 or 2022, but let's say it's 2023, and then we have a bear market throughout, say, the second half of 2023 and early 2024, and then we have a halving. I think that halving is just going to help reduce volatility, because we've shown that over the long term, volatility is getting reduced, and I think the halving, by decreasing the rewards to the miners, will help decrease some of that volatility by hopefully driving up demand even when we're in a bear market. And then I think that it would be the bull run, so that'll be the halving in 2024, and then I think it'll be more so the halving in 2028, which is where Bitcoin will really potentially take off for yet another market cycle. So for those of you who are upset that you didn't get into Bitcoin, back in 2011, where you could have seen these really good runs early on, or 2013, or even 2017, I would still say if you're in it right now, if you're accumulating Bitcoin right now, you have a huge leg up on the people who are not, because inevitably dumb money will enter the market in a few years, and when it does, you're the person that's going to be selling, and you're going to be laughing all the way to the bank, saying, you know what, I bought here, even up here at 14K, at 6K, at 3K, at 8K, but guess what? The price of Bitcoin is now $80,000, $120,000, and I'm making bank. The dumb money's coming in. They're going to get burned, and for anyone who doesn't capitulate, they might be waiting 7 years potentially to see a new blow off top speculative bubble, even though I think that'll be see diminishing returns as well. So I hope that pretty much sums up my thoughts. If you want to check out the Telegram channel, you can find it here. We have over 2,200 people in the group. We have some really good moderators in the chat that try to keep it focused. If you want to talk about something, try to keep it somewhat related to cryptocurrency. I also do post videos on other things like traditional markets and even the pandemic. But typically, it's always in relation to what does this mean for cryptocurrency? How can this affect the crypto markets if traditional markets are going down? If there's a pandemic and people are liquidating their high risk assets, how is that going to affect things? So check that out. And we do have a logo contest going on in there. So if you are the winner of the logo contest, then you'll get a year subscription to the Patreon channel, and so that will be worth $600 if you're interested in that. And we already have a lot of good logo designs, so you will have some competition to go up against. There is one actually specifically that I really do like a lot. I'm not going to say which one it is, but I'd be interested to see if someone can beat it. And then, of course, here is the Patreon channel. So if you want to check it out, we do have a lot of different perks. We have a lot of research reports that come out. We have one every month. This month we have altcoin letters coming out. So it's going to be a lot of different ways that you could have weighted your portfolio in the past cycle, and even since the last blow off top in 2017, 2018. Different ways you can just squeeze out as much profits as you can. And let me tell you guys, like, it does not take much. You know, we're talking about moving a decimal sometimes, or changing an exponent slightly in a potential weighting that can, take your peak portfolio from a few 100,000 to several million, depending on how much you're putting in. But what the report is going to say is, okay, well, what if I'm putting in $1,000 a month into certain coins? What are ways that we can weight it that, historically speaking, would have been much better than just emotionally throwing your money at whatever coin you see shilled on Reddit that day and hoping for the best? So if you're interested in that, if you're a really serious investor, and you want to look at the math behind it, but don't actually have the time to go do it yourself, then just check out the $50 tier on Patreon, and that report, which is going to be different than all the other reports I've made, because instead of a newsletter, in a sense, with like 40 figures, it's going to be a long PDF of tons of different slides with my annotations on them, and I'm going to make a video just for those people to walk them through my thoughts on everything. So if you are interested in that, please check it out. And I hope this plug has not been too overbearing for you guys. And of course, we do have a patron-only chat room with some of the risk updates as well. So again, there's a lot of perks. Check this stuff out if you're interested in it. I think that will wrap it up for this video. Please at least subscribe to the channel if you guys want to follow along. I do post a video basically every single day. Sometimes I skip a day. Sometimes I post 2 videos a day. So if you guys find this stuff interesting, please subscribe. Check out the Telegram channel in the description below, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.